meditation. We'll look at what passion means exactly and share our journey, what it's meant for us, thinking beyond the structured careers that we had, Bryce as a lawyer, me as a doctor. And we will then look at some pitfalls and some tips and tricks to stay grounded. So I think we need to start recording. Are you recording?
Yeah, I'm recording.
So yes, welcome to everybody. Bryce, do you want to lead us in with a meditation?
Yep. Okay, so for all of our webinars, we start with meditation. It just helps ground us and get us into the right mindset. So just be a few minutes closing your eyes, putting down the phone or whatever you're holding or doing. This is just a moment for you to tune in. Let's start by breathing deep into the belly. And as you breathe into the belly, feeling the air move up, down as the belly expands, in and out. Feeling yourself ground down into the floor, the chair, whatever you're sitting on. Inhale, let the belly expand, taking in fresh new air. Exhale out all the old air. Let's bring in a color, just inhaling gold color. Exhaling all the stagnation out. Repeating. And let's just set an intention today. What it is that you want out of this webinar, or what it is that you want out of the day, the month, your life. What you want, though. Feeling this intention before we come back. Basically feeling it as if it's already done. The excitement about pursuing it. The bigness of stepping into it. And one last deep breath from the belly, make it big. And exhale. Slowly fluttering your eyes open. Coming back.
Yay. Thank you, Bryce. Thank you. Do you want to share your intention?
Yeah,
That's all right.
Personal. I want to regrow hair and curly. No, my intention was, what's the most? Well, it was more of a question. It was like, what's the most that can happen on this webinar? Like, what's the most I can give? What's the most that can happen for the people here? Like, really aspiring for that was my intention.
Yeah. Yeah, funnily enough, that I had a similar one. I'm also wishing and hoping and committing to making this webinar as helpful and useful and inspiring as possible, so that you receive something that is useful for you today and can help you move forward with whatever you intended for yourself. So thank you again to everybody who's here today. I see a user has come up, a phone number, a GP's iPhone. Hello, GP's iPhone. Welcome, welcome. If you're looking for the how to find your passion, how the hell do you find your passion webinar, you're in the right place. So great to see you or see your name. So maybe we'll quickly do some introductions so you know who the hell we are. If you don't know already, some of you might know me already or know Bryce. Bryce, take it away. Who are you, Bryce?
Who am I? That's a good question.
In your outer form.
Yeah. So I used to be an attorney. That's the quick version. And then basically kind of in the framework of how do you find your passion, there was always this bubbling desire to become an actor. And so in the middle of being an attorney, I went to acting school on my lunch breaks and for about 2 years, and really started to discover this whole other side that's been percolating since birth. I mean, really, it's like I've always wanted to be an actor. So anyway, I followed this passion, and I noticed that all these massive emotions started coming up when I was acting, as a good actor does. But the problem was I couldn't manage them. And so I started going to different people, acupuncturists, all these different things, and I found that there was a deeper love of exploration of the self that started coming up. And so I started teaching classes about what I was learning. And slowly but surely, I developed this kind of framework of how to find your passion, step into the bigness. And I didn't even know there was no purpose to it. There wasn't like, oh, this would be a great business model. It was more like, it was a have to. It was like, I have to get this out of me or I'm going to explode. There was no moral standpoint of like, I just want to share to the world so they can be big and beautiful. It was like, if I don't get this out, I'm going to die. And so from there, what happened was the law thing, but being a lawyer and working 90 hours a week really started hurting. It was interesting because the more I hung on to being a lawyer and that whole image, the more I started to crumble, become dysfunctional, because there was like this light of the passion that started rising, and this was like, no. And so eventually one of them gave, the lawyer, and then I started transitioning into this whole other version of teaching and working with high achievers on how to essentially find your passion. And here we are now.
Nice.
How about you?
What do you do now, Bryce?
Well, that's exactly what I do. I coach people, I empower them to create frameworks for their life to find their version of true success, their passion, their fulfillment within their. I'm the type of guy, this is actually our last webinar that we talked about how to jump and transform your career. I'm the type of guy that likes to work within the career until it gets so big that it just shatters automatically and you kind of are that, because that's the way that I work. I like taking big leaps and big steps, but I tend to work with people that have they're kind of scared to make that big jump because they have such a big life already established. And so that's what I do now. I work with people on that level. Great.
Thank you for sharing that journey. I'm sure some people must resonate quite deeply with that. I love you get so big that suddenly you just can't hold it in anymore. Your passion or your desire to move into something else, something new, is so big that so strong that there's no other choice. You just have to take action in a new direction. And I think sometimes this happens, although there is a part of us that wants to stay in the old career or the old version. And then things that appear unfortunate are actually fortunate because they're helping us move forward. Okay, so I'll share a little bit of my story, just briefly. So I'm a medic by background, or a medical doctor by background, and I think some of you are here today are doctors. So thanks for making time in your busy schedules. And I followed a very specific career track and ticked all the boxes and did all the right things. I also did things that I liked, but I knew I was also doing the right things. Until eventually I started to get a feeling that something wasn't quite right. And I found myself in a role that felt really off, and I was feeling less and less like myself. I felt more kind of lighter and a bit like a ghost. I wasn't powerful. I wasn't very effective. I couldn't sleep very well. I started getting palpitations until I found myself crying in a park outside a government building where I used to work. And it's at that point that I realized that something was really, really off. Because that wasn't me at all. People knew me as an enthusiastic, passionate person who was full of energy. And so from there, just realizing that I had to just look at how I could do things differently and accept that maybe this wasn't the path, the career that I'd been building for over a decade actually might not be the continuing direction for me. That's when I started getting new insights. And it was in nature in Alaska that I suddenly started to realize that I couldn't be safe I couldn't prioritize safety over passion or over intuition. I'm going to call it intuition. It's different to passion, and we'll discuss that, but I'll say that I was guided more by intuition. Having allowed passion to reinfuse me by accepting that maybe the old thing wasn't right. So, and that's how I started to find my path again back to the enthusiastic, energetic, hopeful, optimistic, creative me. And that started to look like a different career. And that's where I've ended up now, which is working independently as an independent coach and consultant. Initially to do consulting in public health and global health. And then I realized what my real passion was coaching and helping other people to go through this journey when they needed some support to understand, to find reference points and to trust themselves and connect with their voice within that can guide them. And here we are today. A few other things, but we'll skip those.
Yeah.
So I don't know if any of you guys online have comments or questions or want to share anything, because you can put it in the chat box if you have a quick question or you resonate with any of this. It'd be good to know if this actually means something to you, if it's helpful or not. So please put it in the chat box. We'll pay attention to that and respond where we can. Okay, so I think we are going to dive into the content that we mentioned. So a little bit more about what passion means, or how we define passion, and dig a little bit deeper into how that looks in practice. You know, how do you know it's passion and not some crazy emotion? How do you know it's passion or intuition, and which one do you act on? Because thoughts aren't real, but if you take action on them, they become real. So how do you know whether it's passion and whether you should follow it? And then we will wrap up with, we'll do a Q&A, and then we'll wrap up with a special offer we want to give people who want to take it, and some final thoughts and a closing meditation. If that sounds good, please say yes in the chat box. If you just want to listen, that's fine, but it's really helpful to hear, to get some feedback, to know that we're sort of on track, because with webinars, you're just kind of talking to yourself, which is a little unnerving and weird. Oh, it's good to have Bryce here. All right. Oh, Anne says, yes, that all sounds good to me. Thank you, Anne. Cecilia says, sounds good. Fantastic. Anne says she really enjoys the energy we both have. Thank you, Anne. That's good to know, because this is a little unusual for both of us. We're usually operating solo, right? And now we're like, oh, let's do something together. So it's good to know it works somehow.
Well, it's just like to highlight too. I mean, two people that really put in a ton of time into education and building this identity and switching. I mean, that's why, you know, I think Amina and I resonate so strongly is because it's just like, we want to, well, at least I want to shout it my American way from the mountaintops of like, this can be done. Like it should be done. I mean, we've done the check the box type thing. And it's like, for the love of God, we've seen how we could have easily lost our path and just had that perfect quote unquote life. And something would have died or was dying. And then all of a sudden this decided to come online. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember being told at the time I was kind of navigating all this confusion that, oh, you just need to go and spend 2 years doing a job, even if you don't really like it, but get experience leading a team. And then in 2 years' time, if you've done well and we've judged that you've done well, then you can come back and maybe 1 day a week you can do what you actually do, which was global health at the time. Yeah. And I think that if I'd followed that path, I would be not well. Something bad would have happened.
So, and that I'll just lead into kind of what my definition of
passion.
Yeah.
A bit more about passion. What is passion? What is passion? Is it that?
Whoa, there it is.
Or is it something else?
The thing is for me, passion is one of those things where it whispers in the background, right? There's this thing that's just, there's an unease. And there's something else. Like for me, it wasn't clear what my passion was. Yes, acting was it, but it wasn't really acting that was my passion. It was about living in this very fulfilled way in my life where life almost became unbelievable. Like, like here we are, I'm doing a webinar at 1 p.m. In my lawyer brain, I'd be like, what in God's name am I doing at 1 p.m.? Like, so for me, passion is being able to have A, the fulfillment, B, control over your time, because I had no control over my time. I was, 6 days a week for a couple of years, 90 to 100 hours. I had all this other stuff. And passion was like, it was about creating my own life the way I wanted to. That was it. And being fulfilled while doing it without having these other qualifications to quote unquote make my life seem like it was a success. Finding that. And so part of the passion for me is actually finding my passion. Like this exploratory phase in the fulfillment is passion. That's one of the passions. So fulfillment, creation of my own life with time, and having this constant yearning and excitement for exploring without the judgment of what failure or success mean.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I was having a conversation about that with another person who specializes in somatic healing. And we're talking about how many of us we don't even know what we want, let alone being able to act on what we want. Right. So it's like that when we talk about, I don't know what to do, there's a step before that, which is, well, do you know what you want? Right. And, Josh says, I've had some career coaching, but found it quite flat, still feel burnt out and directionless 13 years post-qualification. Sorry to hear that, Josh. And my heart goes out to you because I know how that feels. And for highly analytical people, I think everybody here is probably highly intelligent, highly analytical. And in our culture in general in the West, we're very intellectually based. We use the mind to try and work out things, which is a legacy of Renaissance, Enlightenment, that the rational superseded dogma. But that there's been a cost to that, which is that we're disconnected from our passions. And at the time, passions just meant emotions. And there's a lot of literature around this in psychology, for example, where we talk about being disconnected from our emotions. So for me, the passions are really the emotions, and the emotions are a guidance system that tells us where there's a mismatch between what we think we have, or what we have, and what we think we should have. And being connected to that helps us then navigate and make decisions, because like, oh, this doesn't feel quite right. I wonder why. Oh, it's because I was expecting this and this hasn't happened and I'm sad or I'm disappointed. And then you can have a conversation. Well, is that okay? Can I let go of my expectation? Or no, that's not okay, because this is a really important thing to me. And so I need to take some action to fulfill that expectation somehow. But doing that cognitively with a rational mind is impossible. You would spend several lifetimes making very simple decisions, because the emotions that are a shortcut to knowing what we want and what is right and what isn't right. So yeah, for me, the journey was trying to get out of the mental, the cognitive, reconnecting with the emotions. And at one point I remember that there was sad emotions, like when I was completely, I was sad because I felt lost and I felt no one could really help me. I was even sadder because people were trying to help me, and then I felt ungrateful, like there was something wrong with me. Like, why do I not get it? Why am I not finding my way? Why can't I just do what they tell me to do? And then there were the positive emotions that helped me take action away from the career I was being kind of pointed towards, and in the direction that the career I really wanted. So in Alaska, for example, in the cabin, I was really happy when I realized I want to do global health. I know it's risky. I know there are no jobs. I know this, I know that, but that's what I really want to do. And from there, I was able to take the next step to make that happen. And in fact, there were already opportunities around me that I was ignoring because I'd been disconnected. I was pushing that desire or the excitement about global health away because my mind had decided, no, that's not possible. The logical, rational thing is to go for the job for the path where there's money, where there's jobs, where there's blah, 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 blah. So that was part of the thing. Reconnecting cognitive to the body. And the passions for me are the emotions. They're the doorway to more clarity.
And that's such a good point. And it's just so everyone knows is like, there's a lot of trial and error in this. Like, right? It's not like when all that stuff came online, you necessarily understood it or it made sense and it was a very clear path, right? I mean, this whole discovering this has to be kind of this, it's an incubator of experimentation. I mean, that really, I wish I had known that in the beginning, that this, if you're going to start exploring this, there's this permission that should be given to yourself of sometimes you're going to go into massive sadness and you're not going to understand why. Sometimes you're going to start feeling these pulls to want to do X, Y, and Z. And then you go do them and it feels totally wrong. Instead of having that sense of like, oh, that failed, I don't know my passion, it should be like, cool, I know that is one thing I don't enjoy. Or like that particular feeling wasn't what I thought it was when it was fulfilled. Kind of that expectation versus what the feeling was. And so if there's one thing I could definitely pass, kind of to what you're saying, you want to do global health, there was that aha moment. And then as you got into it, you saw there was actually something different.
I got a taste for risk taking. So once I said no to the safe option and I gave myself permission to take the fun, exciting option, that I'd been wanting for a long time, it's like a muscle developed. It's like, oh, wow, because it was fun, and I did some great things. I'm so grateful to the person who gave me a lot of opportunities. I traveled around. A lot of things that were dreams suddenly became true. But I didn't stop there. It's not like, okay, well, this is my path now. It was like a muscle developed and said, wow, well, what if you lived your entire life like this? Because you didn't die, you didn't become homeless, you weren't punished for anything. You still eat, breathe, sleep as you did before. So nothing bad happened. So what if you lived your life like this all the time? And that's how I was able to take a second leap into working independently.
I want to just highlight the muscle building. That's exactly what it is. Like, passion is muscle building. The muscle building is such an integral part, and another kind of permission-based framework that allows you to be like, okay, cool, I'm making this jump. I shared before this other story of like when I tried to do stand-up. It was fantastic at how bad it quote unquote failed. I mean, it was the worst stand-up ever. Horrific. And it turns out I didn't actually enjoy doing it. It was more the muscle building, that thing of like, and God, thinking back from where I started to now, like the muscle's so strong, and it's only going to get stronger. But like, to your point, it's like that first step, whether it is the thing or not, it doesn't matter. It's the strengthening of taking those steps towards that ideal passion, even if you don't know what it is.
Yeah. And in fact, I say I encourage my clients to think of themselves that way when they're thinking of going from a very set career path where they just had to do the exams and apply for the right jobs, get the right references, etc., do the audit, do the blah blah, and they're starting to think, I don't know if this is right for me anymore. I encourage them to take on the identity of an explorer, or a detective, or a scientist, or a pioneer. Because that then helps them take on different behaviors. So it's okay to try things and find out it's not the right thing. It's okay to do an experiment and realize the results are no good. Because all of that is adding to your bank of wisdom and knowledge and healthy behaviors that will guide you to what will eventually become the next thing that you're doing. There's the in-between stories phase, which is messy and experimental. And it's quite challenging if you've had a very structured career, as I'm sure you know, and many people here will probably relate to. So taking on a different identity, I would highly recommend that. In fact, Anne says, I have quite a lot of little passions and an overall umbrella passion. And this has all been building over a number of years, right? Exactly. And we had a conversation last time, right? You've got this amazing set of skills and values and offerings, and putting them, they do all come together under an umbrella, which I think is this creating a very deep relationship, helping people transition from being single or being a couple to being married. I think that's a beautiful gift to have and a passion to have. Okay, so where are we at? It's it's half past the hour. Is there anything else you want to say on what passion means to you, how it played out? I think what we're saying at the moment is it doesn't have to be a big burst, right? It's not like you find something and every day you're waking up and you're like, I found my passion.
Oh, you know what I do want to say is consistency.
Consistent action?
Consistent action towards a passion. Like, so I work with a lot of particular men that have this issue, is where they find that they don't have that passion because they followed a very direct career path, just like you said, structured, blah, 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 blah. And so my whole basis is to do exactly the opposite of what you've been doing, right? To really do that, but do it a lot for different things. Mm-hmm. And the consistency goes back to that muscle building thing. So if you're going to be an explorer and have an explorer phase, do it. Just don't do it once or twice and be like, box. It just can't be a check the box type. Yeah, I was an explorer for 2 times when I went, skydiving or whatever it is. It just has to be a consistent thing, because you're not going to be able to build that muscle without it.
Yeah. It's kind of like an appetite for risk taking, isn't it?
Risk taking. I mean, it is. And it's so funny because it's like risk taking for high achievers, overthinkers is so different than like if we were talking to a mountaineer, or someone in the military. It's just amazing. And that's why I love using the different frameworks of these different universes, if you will, of people to then superimpose, just like you're doing with the explorer identity, onto that thing. It's like, oh, wow, this guy risks his life, canyoneering in Montenegro. And I'm concerned about doing stand-up at a Lower East Side shitty comedy club,
Yeah.
It's nothing. And that just helps. That helps with the brain.
Yeah. So, I think there is something about the emotions guiding us and being able to connect with desire and then test, like, take action on whatever desire comes up, and then take the feedback in as well. It's like, how do I feel about that? Okay, I've taken a step, I've applied for this job, or I've had an interview, I've had a conversation with somebody. As an explorer, you're going out, meeting people, networking, trying different things, doing an internship maybe. That's your kind of explorer. But then you're also noticing what impact that has on you through connection with the emotions. And it's not all rational. It's not like, oh, that job pays more, that one has better hours. You can't model it all. You can't get a perfect model, just put data in and get the perfect answer. This is all messy experimental stuff. But the emotions, the passion, what I would call the passions, will guide you in conjunction with your mind. You're not having a lobotomy and dropping your mind. You're helping them work together better, actually, your emotions and your mind. But you must integrate the emotions into your decision making. Otherwise, you get that sense of being lost and confused and just frustrated. You can't find an answer, because there is no right answer. So Balsam says, this all sounds good. And at one point in my life, I was able to take that risk. But now with a family, I just feel so anxious to take such leaps, especially the financial risk. What are your thoughts? Good question. Good question. Because when you have kids, dependents, the risk just mount, right? The level always just goes up into like red levels. Do you have any thoughts for Balsam, Bryce?
Yeah, I just actually had a convo with this. Basically, for me, in that case, it's not so much about then taking the risks as it is in this case. It's like a rediscovery of the self. And so it's a different framework. We're going to talk about coaching, and not just our programs or anything like that. Can I just jump into that? Because I think this is helpful. Go. Like an Olympic coach, right? Or an Olympian has a coach. It would just be insane not to have a coach to push yourself into to constantly change and go to the next level. And our personal lives, we don't have that. And I'm not saying, again, this isn't you need to get a coach or any type of thing like that. What I'm saying is it's important to have a consistent reflection back to you of your bigger self. It's like, what I'm saying, Bassam, is like, you may want to find someone or something that can help you reflect back to you your bigger self. Because what happens is when we have these families and these obligations, we kind of we deflate, because we're giving so much to everyone else. And so in that framework, the question is like, how do you rediscover yourself without shattering that framework? And the big thing is it's more it goes back to the emotional level, right? And so my focus is on like micro steps during the day of where you can carve out that time for your discovery of yourself. What emotions are coming up that are actually blocking yourself? So you don't need to go to skydiving or rock climbing or explorer mode. It's more of like, what is the day-to-day emotional landscape in you that's crushing you? And then how do we flip that on its head? So yeah, essentially building that muscle so you don't necessarily have to externally do stuff anymore, but it's internally, you're becoming a bodybuilder. So when you do interact with your family, you do interact with friends, that you're just so in yourself and full of passion on the day-to-day that you don't have to do those external things as much. How about you, Amina?
Yeah. I think having someone to support you or that you can have conversations with, say what you want. What is it that you actually want, right? Before you take a risk, because otherwise the mind comes in. Because you'll say, oh, taking a risk means like, I don't know, applying for some crazy job or working for myself, and that's really risk. And then it's like, no, that's impossible. But that's just the mind doing its usual tricks. So if you go into your emotions and say, well, what do I actually want? And what do I want to feel on a daily basis? What do I want to experience? Do I want to experience more freedom? Do I want to experience more joy, more fun, more excitement in my job? What's missing right now that's creating a state of dissatisfaction? And then that person who reflects back, or you can do it journaling, or there are different ways. But there needs to be some sort of dialogue between you and yourself, or you and yourself with the help of another person. Then you look at, well, what does that look like in practice? What would be a small step towards that thing? What's the smallest step towards that thing that you want to experience? And before you know it, you'll start to realize it's not as far or risky as your mind thinks, or your mind is trying to tell you to keep you where you are. And you might just have to trust me on this. If it feels like, what is she talking about?
Well, actually, it'd be good. I'd be curious to see what's coming up in the mind as we're saying this.
Yeah, balsam, yes, Amina. You also said same boat, balsam. So yes, Amina and balsam are in the same boat. And in fact, we're all in the same boat. What we want, what is worth wanting, is always a bit outside our comfort zone. And that's because we want to grow as human beings. It's just a natural impulse. Evolution wants to flourish and wants us to evolve. So it's always going to try and push you a bit outside what you already know. And of course, there's a mechanism within that wants to protect you from doing something too crazy. And so the fears and the fears kick in, and the mind starts to kick in as well, not always in a helpful way. So the truth is, we're all in the same boat. Even now, when I want to do something that I haven't done before, like this, when we started doing webinars, there was a part of me that said, oh no, but it's too risky. And what if my reputation is damaged? And what if that? And what if this? And so even just saying.
Working with an American, what happened there?
Yeah.
But it's like, and what's so cool is like the whole point of having that reflection back to you, whatever the version is, journaling, whatever. It's about the thoughts, your particular thoughts that come up that start crushing you or hindering you in a particular way. So we could give a lot of general advice, which we have. But it's really like, what are the stories that are coming at you? Because we've all been there where people are like, follow your dreams and make the leap, and the universe has your back, right? But for the people who somewhat educated, somewhat educated, we're like, that's kind of bullshit. I don't know if that really works. And so that's why you have to take kind of your story, your set of circumstances, hand them either through, again, different exercises, journaling, reflection, coaching, consulting, whatever it is, and see how they can be slowly transformed. So like to your fact, right? Balsam, you have this, I feel anxious taking leaps, especially with the financial risks and the family. I would love to see what a transformed version of that looks like within the framework of your life, where you're like actually taking a leap, not a risk that's going to crash everything, would actually strengthen the family, would actually show your kids like, oh my gosh, this is how I could live. Like you become a pillar of that transformation. So you're actually setting your kids in a path where they don't even begin to think the way we naturally do. Like on a financial risk, all of a sudden turns into a financial potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you're, if you're feeling drawn to something, and it's intuitive rather than reactive, like I hate my job, I'm leaving this job. That's reactive. That's a passion gone crazy. That's an emotion. It's anger. It's unrefined. It's not guided by wisdom. But if your intuition is pulling you, then there's something good there for you and your family. But your fear is going to hold you back, and your fear is really what you need to deal with. So there are a couple of exercises. I think Tim Ferriss recommends these, but they're quite, the bog standard coaching tools. So one is fear setting. So instead of writing down your goals, especially if you don't know what you want, so you're not going to have specific big goals, write down your fears, write them down in your journal or speak them out. This is also where having someone, a coach or somebody to speak them out to, will help kind of put them in perspective. Or write them down. Write down all of your fears right now. If you take a career leap, or if you follow your heart, if you follow an idea that you have at the back of your mind, write down all of your fears. You will feel so good by the end. And you'll also see them and think, okay. The second part of the exercise is writing a rebuttal. So like an academic or a lawyer or whatever, write down how this fear actually isn't as bad as it looks to start at the beginning, right? If you can't do that, that's fine. If you're like, no, it's true that I'm going to die under a bridge. Okay, maybe it is true. I don't know. But for most people, you're not going to die under a bridge. It's just a very common fear that we have around money. It's like, I'm going to end up homeless under a bridge. So that's the first exercise, fear setting. Write down all of your fears one by one, and then write a rebuttal and revisit them the next day or the next week. You will feel very differently about them, and you will feel lighter. The second exercise is the worst case scenario. It's similar, but in this case, you just focus on the worst thing that could have happened, that you lose your family, everybody dies painfully.
Painfully, I'm glad you added the painfully part.
Maybe something more that was more realistic to you, that somehow your family suffers. Write it down, and then see if you can mitigate that scenario. More often than not, you will find that you have ways of mitigating that. But if you leave that thought buzzing around your head, it is going to create chaos in your mind and a lot of fear in your body. So it needs to come out into the outside world and be put in perspective. Okay, let's see. Balsam says, you are right. My eldest son told me recently, Mom, I don't want to work like you very long hours. Oh, Balsam, my heart goes out to you and to your son. Such wisdom from your son. Oh, and he said, I want to work part-time and my wife will work also part-time. So I would never have to put my kids in a childminder. I keep reflecting on his words and I'm being a speaking to you very deeply. He's trying to draw out the real Balsam, the real powerful, creative Balsam, not Balsam who's afraid. He's trying to bring you back to your senses. He's trying to bring you back to the real you. So see it more as he's calling you. He's trying to remind you of who you really are and how powerful you are. Ugh. I'm getting a bit passionate now.
What a perfect time.
I hope that's helpful. So, really enjoying being able to support you. So thanks for sharing those things with us.
Can I just address the feeling guilty part? The feeling guilty part, it's totally natural. We're all going to feel guilty. This is the human condition. However, this goes to, the thing is a lot of us didn't have these tools. So it'd be like me feeling guilty that I don't speak French. I mean, we were never taught that. So it'd be unproductive to feel guilty about that, because obviously your son sees something bigger in you that, I think would be the most productive way to really do that. So while the guilt's there, see what's on the other side of that too. Like normally when, there's that tessellated thing where it's the dark and the light, cool, you can feel guilt, as we all do. But let's go to the bright side too. It's like, great, I want to do something about this. That's where I want like the mindset to start going. Great, guilt comes up, acknowledge. What's the opposite? I want to do something about it. And you are. I mean, the fact that you're even on this call right now, like everybody that's on this call, if you're saying you don't know what your passion is, it's kind of like, there's something in there that knows smarter than the brain, or else you wouldn't be on this webinar with us too. You just wouldn't. Yeah,
or the Tony Robbins question, what if you knew what you wanted? What if you knew what the next career was? What if you knew what to do next? What would that be? Just make it up. Take the pressure off, make it up, write it down, do something about it, and see what happens.
I want to do one exercise, or do you have another exercise?
I think, we have less than 10 minutes left.
Okay.
So we've talked about...
sorry. Okay, it's just this. It's whatever data points you're using to disprove that you can do it, go find a new set of data points. That's my thing. So like if you're saying, well, I can't do this because of X, Y, Z, go find a person, and there will always be throughout the history of humankind, a person who did do it with those exact circumstances. It's a fantastic exercise because it's like, well, they did do it.
Yeah. I'm thinking of, is it Ian Wojcik, or I can't remember what his name is, but he's the guy with no arms and no legs.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly who I was thinking of.
He has no arms and no legs. And
he's killing it. Killing it.
He tried to commit suicide, but it didn't work. And he suddenly had an epiphany. I was so grateful, because then he just realized he was filled with love and that he could still achieve things. And he's now like an international speaker. Yeah, exactly. Now, Nick Vujicic, thank you, Anne. Now married with 4 children. Wow. This is a man with no arms and no legs.
He has no arms.
Face and a torso. And he goes around schools and travels globally and giving inspiring motivational talks, because the evidence is pretty incontrovertible in that case, right? There's a guy with no arms and no legs who's achieved so much. Got a successful career, he's made a ton of money, he's married happily, apparently, with kids. So what am I complaining about? Okay, so we've talked about a little bit about passions, what they are for us, how they can be useful as a guidance system, how you take feedback through, these are the practical things, right, that you, the good practices around passions, that you need feedback, you need a bit of reflection, because the passions need to be combined then with the mind so that it all becomes wisdom and it helps you make good decisions. I think we didn't talk about pitfalls, maybe a couple of minutes on pitfalls. Following your passion, following your heart. I'll go for it quickly. So because that passions are essentially the emotions, you need to refine the emotions. And we've talked about practices to refine the emotions, whether it's fear or excitement. It can be like, I'm just going to go and I'm going to go to the moon, or I'm going to start a company, I'm going to make $1 million by next month. Great for the excitement, but that passion needs to be refined. It needs to be combined with the mind and the cognitive and the rational, but not ignored or suppressed or shamed, right? There's a lot of shaming as well that goes on with emotions, like, oh, you can't feel that. Or you want that? Oh, that's weird. I actually told people I was going on maternity leave when I was going through my shift. I don't have children, but I knew there would be a kind of reaction that would just suppress my little offshoots of intuition and inspiration. So I just avoided that. Whether it's the best strategy or not, that's another conversation. But a pitfall would be to think, for me, to be completely run over by your passions, and to think that every day, once you found your passion, you wake up feeling happy and joyful, and that you'll never have any problems again. Of course, that's not true. There are ups and downs on the journey to your passionate life, the life that's guided by the internal, by the combination of the emotions and the mind that leads to intuition and leads to that deep connection with life that is fulfilling and wise. Bryce?
Wait, you don't wake up every day happy?
Yeah, look at me like this.
That's such a good, that's a great pitfall. I mean, there are mornings I wake up and I want to take a cast iron skillet just to my face and bounce it off. Like it's because people are like, you're following your dreams, you know, and I'm just like, no, I'm still a human being that just has all these the feels. I have the feels. To Josh's point on how you had a career coach. This is great. I'm so glad you brought this up. There are bad coaches out there that are not for the right fit. And this is an important thing because some people find coaches, or we'll say reflection buddies or exercises. You gotta understand that's part of the process, is to find what works for you. Now, they'll be just like a doctor or a lawyer. You know, there's people who know how to get your work done properly and how to push you that align with you. And then there are people that don't. And so don't let whatever it is, like I said, it could be an exercise, it could be a video series, it could be a webinar. Find the ones that you really respond to and go with that. And the ones that don't, drop them. Now, of course, you got to understand a good system, whatever that is, the exercises that Amina gave earlier, or coaching reflection, they're going to test you. So you're going to confront some crap. So don't just necessarily drop out because of that. Like, you're going to get confronted, but you'll always have a sense somewhere inside you whether this is a good route to follow. And I think that's really, really important, because I would do all these exercises. I would work with all these people. And it turns out just a lot of them were shit. Like, a lot of them were unintelligent. A lot of them were uninspiring.
Let's not do any other people bashing.
I'm sorry, no other people. How about exercises? I worked with a lot of exercises that just didn't match me and what I want. Not people. Sorry. Yeah. But you're right.
And there's confusion between coaching, consulting, mentoring. They're different things. Counseling, career counseling, they're very different things. Coaching, so right now we're very proactive, and we are giving a lot of content. But in a coaching session, we would be listening to you and asking you questions to see if we can hit the spot. Like, this is what's going on with you, isn't it? And if it's right, you'll be like, yeah, I've been trying to put my finger on it for so long. And it's like, okay, well, now what happens? What do you want now? What does that mean in practice? Does that change the choices that you have in front of you, or the choice that you want to make? So coaching is not consulting or advising. Coaching is drawing out. It's like, I don't know, magic, like trying to draw out the greatness from the person, the inspiration, the intuition, until they speak it. And they're like, did I just say that? Wow. Yes, you did just say that. You're amazing. So if your coach didn't do that for you, then I wouldn't call them a coach. They were just telling you some stuff, giving you some frameworks, they were working with your head, not with your heart, your intuition.
Exactly. Good call. You're not experiencing it. You're just hearing it.
Yeah. So, and we're nearly done. So this will bring us to the offer we want to give you. But before that, I want to check whether there are any further questions, comments, reflections. Balsam and Yasmina, we gave a lot of tools and tips and advice, but we both know that's not really good practice. We need to understand more about you, and hear you and feel you, as in feel your energy, to understand, to be able to really help you. So are there any final questions, comments, reflections, insults?
You could, I'm sorry for bashing other coaches, although they were mediocre.
Oh, Cecilia, thank you. She says, how do I want to feel? Amazing question to ask myself every morning. Thanks. Yes. And actually, I sent a 2018, instead of doing goal setting this year, we did, with the people I work with, we did, what do you want to experience? What do you want to experience this year? And just pick one. It can just be one experience. And just work with that for a month. Do you want to experience more clarity? Do you want to experience more focus, more commitment? And then it's in your hands. There is something you can do to create that experience for yourself. And imagine how powerful you will feel after that. Anything else? Any final questions? Otherwise, we will go to quickly to the special offer, and then we'll do a closing meditation.
No questions. Come on, guys. This is a chance. Use us. Josh brought up, he said that was the problem. She was also a medic, but could not understand me wanting to look at interest outside of medicine.
Yeah, it's okay. Also, there are vested interests. If that coach is working for an organization or for the deanery or whatever, then she has a bit of a vested interest. She's kind of working for the system, right? She wants good, happy, productive workers. And this is kind of, for me, and I think for Bryce as well, we work completely independently. I do not get paid by an organization. I only work with individuals because I don't want any interference from somebody else's goals, from some organizational interests. I'm here purely for the person in front of me. And that's reflected in the structure of the coaching and the investment that the person makes. They're stepping up, they're choosing for themselves. They're owning their resources, their money, their time, their energy, and deciding they want to invest it in their coaching. So no organizations. So that could have been what's going on. It's not that she was a bad coach necessarily. And so that brings us to the offer. So the offer that we want to make to you is a unique one. I don't think you will find this anywhere else, but we've tried it before. With one of you here today. Thank you for being the first person. We're offering a 20-minute consultation with Bryce and me together. So if you have questions specific to you, if you want to continue this conversation, if there's something that you want to bring up but you don't want to do it here, then that is perfect. It's just going to be Bryce and me and you having a very straightforward, honest conversation. Obviously, we can't tackle everything. It's just going to be a thing. And you can get clarity or make a decision very quickly with the right support, with someone who's really listening to you, not trying to impose something or jump in with some advice or some ideas. So if that is of interest to you, you want to just tackle a question that's been on your mind for a long time, you feel that somehow if you just brought something out into the open, it would clear some stuff and give you some clarity, then please take this opportunity and come and have a 20-minute coaching conversation with us. We will send you an email to send you a link where you can book a session, and our emails as well. So if you want to contact us and ask us about it. Okay. Does that sound, is there anything else that I forgot to say there?
No, that's perfect.
No, okay. Wonderful. Any final comments from everybody? Anybody? Now is your time. Going. We've got 2 more minutes. We're going to do the meditation if there aren't any questions. Oh, Anne says, I found my experience with both of you very valuable and useful. Thank you, Anne. So there, we've got some direct feedback. So it's safe. And Anne is amazing. And Anne lives in, which part of France? Film festival?
Cannes.
I think it's Cannes. Yes, Cannes! Yes! And she's doing amazing things, helping couples to move into marriage in a healthy way preparing them for what a marriage is going to be, because I don't think a lot of people know. Bryce, I don't know, next time we make a webinar on that and your experience. Balsam says, thank you both, a lot to reflect on. You're welcome, Balsam. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing. We really appreciate that. Yeah, and I think we're ready to close.
Let's do it.
Little meditation. Yeah, so thanking you all for the time that you have given yourself, and taking that in with a deep breath. Realizing how committed you are to yourself by being here, how brave you are to show up here and trust us with your dreams and your aspirations, your passions, your emerging passions, and being really grateful for the part of you that brought you here. Because that part of you is probably the part that wants to help you find your highest good. And trusting that you've received whatever you needed today, maybe some insights, some seeds have been sown that might grow into beautiful ideas, guide you to inspired action. It might look strange. It might look like it's not the prescribed path. And yet it will feel right. It will feel right to you. And taking away the courage and the good wishes that we have for you to follow your path and flourish. Whew. So feeling yourself supported wherever you are, on your chair, your couch, your sofa, the floor. Feeling the environment around you that supports you, the clothes you're wearing that keep you warm. And trusting that the universe wants you to flourish and succeed and feel happy. And when you're ready, taking another deep breath. Come back into the room wherever you are, ready to continue with your day. And we will see you very soon.
Take care, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.